What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is January 7th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, as we break through the big even level of $1 trillion in total valuation for cryptocurrencies as a market, which is not only a first of its kind, but a truly historic moment for cryptos as an asset class, we have to ask ourselves a serious question here. And that is whether or not we're setting up for a massive surge in altcoins. Are we finally on the cusp of the next major altcoin cycle? Have we already begun the altcoin cycle and began the early stages of the process? There's a lot of things we have to go about asking. We want to try to do it in the most rational way possible, looking at metrics we've looked at in the past, as well as some new metrics that can give us some good market insight to answering that question. And outside of that as well, we've also got a sponsored review of the Stacks 2.0 platform built out of the Blockstack ecosystem, bringing DeFi to the Bitcoin protocol. So we're going to be talking about all this and more later on in the video. You won't want to miss it. Let's go ahead and dive straight into the main topic for today, though, guys. The question here is simple. Are we setting up for an altcoin cycle? Are we possibly in the midst of an altcoin cycle? And how can we really just kind of analyze the key steps and procedures that we look for when it comes to altcoin cycles? Well, let's go ahead and run through a few of these. For a bit of a preface here, before we dive into that, I just want to go ahead and let everyone take a moment to realize and appreciate where we're at right now. This is the first time in history, over the last couple of hours, this is the first time in history we can look at the total valuation of cryptocurrencies as a new age asset class. Guys, at this point now is actually probably just as big as breaking the Bitcoin all-time highs, because traditional investors are going to be looking here and seeing, okay, originally this kind of bump in the road here, not only with the general crypto market at below $1 trillion, down here around $780 billion. That was interesting, but it was a speculative wave. Well, with the breakthrough on Bitcoin now and total market capitalization reaching $1 trillion for the first time, this is something that institutional investors, broader investors as a whole, cannot ignore anymore. So let's go ahead and see the signs here. Now that we see that the crypto market is moving up here, we obviously know that Bitcoin right now is charting up very well. It's up towards 38,000. It's going towards hopefully our target we talked about around $40,000. It might even chart a higher to 50K. The question here is, what signs are we seeing in the market for altcoins that are showcasing some signs of strength or potential lead in dominance? Well, if we take a look over the last 24 hours here, we can see that there are a lot of cryptocurrencies that are in double-digit territory, and some, like NANO, that have pushed into triple-digit territory, up 124.58% in the last 24 hours. Now, this is a broad trend across the board, guys. I'll scroll through the list here, and you can just see that we've got a ton of cryptocurrencies in the green here, with very few cryptocurrencies down here in the red. But what's important to notice is that day by day, what we're seeing here are a lot more cryptocurrencies starting to outpace Bitcoin here in this case. Now, Bitcoin's already up 8% here, but we can see that there are a wide range of different altcoins, some small, mid, and large cap plays that are outpacing Bitcoin by a long shot. And this is not just true over the 24-hour. You have to also check the 7-day here. We want to see here how cryptos are generally performing against Bitcoin on a weekly time frame. And this is why the 7-day can be very valuable. We have plays like, for example, Loopring that we talked about in our altcoin video, up 146% this past week. And across the board, we have a lot of different plays here that are maintaining double-digit gains here for the last 7 days. Bearing in mind, outpacing Bitcoin, already having a 30% rally here. And the other plays as well are really not that far behind Bitcoin. Sure, there are a few of these down here as we go down the list, but you're really getting the stable coins here when we're talking about plays that are technically in the red here. They really haven't really moved at all. It's 0.02%, which is negligible in this case, because they're stable coins. They're supposed to be stable, right? So anyways, as we can see here, the question here is Bitcoin getting up towards 38,000. We already know very, very clearly. Our first bucket item here was taking a look at the 24-hour movement, the 7-day movement here in this case, the weekly movement. And we can see here that there are a lot of altcoins starting to outpace Bitcoin. That's important for growing altcoin dominance and sparking the next cycle. The second thing we need to look for here is, have we revisited the all-time highs? And yes, we already have done this. We are well beyond overextended for where we should be, at least according to the previous cycle here, where we had a good range of consolidation for a couple of months going into the first quarter of 2017 in the previous cycle before we really kicked off the next rally. But we understand here that this is a bit different this time around. There's a lot of optimism and fear of missing out on Bitcoin. That all being realized, it doesn't negate the fact here that there is a lot of new liquidity in the crypto market. There is a lot of new value ready to surge into different projects when that altcoin cycle comes. And I can tell you all, in this case, we're getting very, very close to that same time window where some of that money is going to start to circulate out here, right? Again, very, very important thing to keep in mind. And now, probably one of the leading indicators that we talk about a lot is altcoin dominance directly. We had this massive surge, mainly led by Ethereum, back a couple of days ago. And the important thing here is that it was not only the most significant rebound so far that we've seen here in 2020, and in this case, technically, and stepping into 2021, and even back going into 2019. Take a look here at the hourly. Starting to set in those higher lows, higher highs, holding the vast majority of these gains. Right? Last time we had this surge here, just a couple of weeks back here, towards the close of the year, we were setting in lower lows and lower highs. And this gave us our indication once we got back to this range that it was going to break down and continue collapsing lower. So the key thing here we want to see is continuation of the higher lows and the higher highs on the shorter term time frame. And that's going to build in towards the continued formation of the longer term trend here, where we start to charter higher. Now, all these things are great here, and I'll be honest to you guys, as you all probably could have guessed by now, I think that we're very much setting up for an altcoin cycle at this point. I think now, especially as we've held this dominance here, that there's some good signs that we're going to be making that reversal, and we're starting to see the altcoins, whether they be small, mid, large caps, outpacing Bitcoin as an asset, which is already doing phenomenal. I'm not being negative on Bitcoin at all. I'm just saying that now we're starting to see a lot more gains here in the altcoin space. The question here is there anything else we can turn to that throughout history has proved to be a good indicator? One of those is implied volatility. Now, implied volatility, without getting too complex, first off, just to explain what volatility is the range of price here for a given asset in a given period of time. So for example, there's like the VIX in this case, which is an indicator of the volatility in options contracts on the S&P 500, the spread in this case for options contracts. So if people are really uncertain about the price and you're seeing these major market dips in the underlying assets up and down, the options contracts are trying to place bets and hedge and cover. In this case, that leads to higher volatility as a measurement. It's showcasing that there's uncertainty. And volatility is not only an indication of uncertainty, which can sometimes be bad, but it actually, in a lot of cases, can be good. And this is where implied volatility comes in. So implied volatility is usually a measure that's utilized on, similar to what we talked about earlier about the VIX in this case, is measuring the volatility of options contracts. And again, without getting too much into too much details and overcomplicating the discussion of options contracts here, it's a form of derivatives. The important thing overall to understand is that when we take a look at this indicator in the past, when we compare here the 6-month implied volatility of Ethereum and Bitcoin, we can see here that there tends to be, when there's a sudden spike here in implied volatility, that this is a key warning sign of some major moves in the market to come. And we can see here that for the last couple of months here, the 1-month implied spread here is at a new all-time high here for all the way going through 2020 and most of 2019. We've had a massive surge here in implied volatility that could serve as a major catalyst here for Ethereum to continue gaining dominance in the market. And a lot of this implied volatility here has been from this sudden surge. Just to talk about how significant this is, I think many of you have probably seen it by now, but just to make sure people are seeing it clearly here, we had a massive surge here. Volume at levels we haven't seen in a long period of time, since all the way back here in March when we had the worst sell-off day for Ethereum in history, right? But now we're starting to play it on the opposite direction. We're having breakthrough institutional volume and some of the biggest daily surges of Ethereum, where we had basically a 50% gain in a matter of 2 days against Bitcoin. This being in an upward market where we haven't even seen Bitcoin pull back yet to give altcoins that extra major wave of liquidity. What happens if Bitcoin pulls back from 40K? This is a truly exciting moment for cryptocurrency markets, you guys. And as someone who's a macro trader, I like to focus on the key elemental signs that can give me that confidence. There's really 3 things I look for. The first thing being a fundamental narrative. So, for example, compared to last time around where it was mainly speculation in 2017, where of course there was still the excitement around ICOs and the potential of blockchain. In this case, we've got decentralized finance, we've got oracles, we've got actual real use cases for smart contracts, a variety of enterprise companies utilizing blockchains like Ethereum, and not to mention as well, to be fair, a whole new wave of blockchain protocols such as Cardano, Polkadot, you name it, that in this case people are very confident might have a competing chance with Ethereum as they launch later this year. We'll see what happens. Again, there's a lot of excitement going on here. That's the fundamental narrative. The second thing we need to see is technical price action that is showcasing this. And now we've seen very clearly through a clear double bottom on Ethereum, a massive 2-day surge here, and we're holding the vast majority of these gains, setting in higher lows and higher highs on the shorter term time frame. That's what we want to see. These are the kind of massive bounces and kind of corrective turns in momentum that get people excited and confident that we can continue to make higher levels. And the third thing is taking a look at actual indicators that can signal momentum. Right? So one of the indicators that we've utilized in the past, go ahead and pull up the indicator search here, is our SMS indicator. We like looking at it on the weekly and the monthly time frame. The SMS indicator, outside of a small anomaly here in December, flipped up for the first time since back here in August of 2020. We turned down here as Ethereum started to turn back against Bitcoin, right? And it remained generally green here through most of the cycle here outside of a few anomalies in price. If we take a look at the monthly, it becomes even more clear here. Flips green here when the market bottoms. We rise up here, get our first red month, things start to go down, and now we have flipped back up for 3 out of 5 points, signaling here basically the completion of all 3 things that we're looking for. Ethereum is the market leader when it comes to altcoins. It is the largest altcoin out there on the market. I know some people would say Ethereum is not an altcoin. Altcoins are alternative currencies. Every cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin, maybe minus stablecoins, are altcoins. And as we've seen, it was the first to really lead the momentum, the charge, and leading dominance, as it is the second largest cryptocurrency in the space behind Bitcoin. And I got to tell you all, between all 3 things that I look for, I can tell you all right now, I've been generally confident of something happening for a while, to be completely fair, but I've never felt this confident, and I've never felt so urgent now to start building up my positions before we start really breaking above those all-time highs and going absolutely insane. We're just seeing the beginning of it. So if this is an altcoin cycle, my complete answer here is that if this is an altcoin cycle, we are in the very, very early stages of it. And if you're here now, you're on the better end of the overall cycle, to be completely honest, guys, which is really exciting. You're here early. So anyways, I thought that would be a really interesting kind of topic to visit in a serious nature. I'm glad. And it just to emphasize, if you guys want the SMS indicator, you guys are welcome to go find it on TradingView. But I want to go ahead here, and speaking about the rise in altcoins and the expansion of DeFi, spend some time to take a look at our sponsor partner for today, and that is the Stacks platform. Now, a lot of you are probably possibly aware of the Blockstack platform and the Blockstack cryptocurrency, Stacks. Well, the protocol itself is actually making a major move here, and it's creating a platform or a protocol that can not only anchor off of the security of the Bitcoin network, but is aiming to focus on bringing DeFi, or decentralized finance, as we've talked about a lot here on the channel, onto the Bitcoin protocol and its own layer and own protocol on top of the Bitcoin network. So how does this actually work here in this case? What's the whole key point here? Well, generally speaking, for those of you who are aware of networks like, per se, Ethereum, Cardano, NANO, all these different types of blockchain protocols, one of the things that they're really infamously known for are the ability to deploy and offer smart contracts. Smart contracts are these great technologies. They're almost these autonomous machines or factories where you can input something and you get something out. And this is what Uniswap is, all these different protocols that we've talked about on the channel, mainly living on Ethereum in this case. But there's a really big value proposition if you can bring smart contracts in some capacity to Bitcoin. Because Ethereum as a network is about 1/5, 1/6 the size of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, in many cases, seen as sound money. It's seen as the kind of wealth that you'd want to own and transact in and basically be able to do business in. And with something like the Stacks platform, they're basically offering a scalable, rooted, secure platform built off the Bitcoin blockchain that will allow people to actually take Bitcoin and be able to process it in DeFi-like transactions, as well as possibly other use cases as the platform develops. So this is really, really exciting. Again, there's all types of different use cases here. And again, to think about smart contracts, you can kind of think these as applications in this case, right? Uniswap itself, that allows me to make decentralized trades, is an application on the Ethereum blockchain. It's a smart contract as well, right? So it's a bit synonymous in this case. Well, they now have this new language here. I want to go ahead first to actually just talk a bit about the ecosystem. So the ecosystem itself, first off, has a variety of different companies, predominantly the Stacks Foundation here that leads the way, but also a few different major companies and organizations, and over 300,000 unique investors into the protocol, as well as hundreds of independent dApp developers in this case, who will be able to build on top of the Stacks platform as they start to migrate and build out this new protocol for the Bitcoin network, which is really exciting. That's the one thing that I would say most blockchain competitors really struggle with, and they usually kind of lose my attention in that case when I say that, okay, they might have great technology, but they don't have a good ecosystem built up. Stacks, or the Blockstack ecosystem, has been around for quite some time. And I think that with the leadership of the team that has proven a lot of value and built a pretty valuable protocol overall, has a lot of experience, has gone through the proper regulatory process, important thing to keep in mind as well when you're talking about tokens, especially now with the SEC's news. I think everything really kind of ticks off the boxes here with that major value proposition of Bitcoin and DeFi. But outside of this, there's a lot of interesting, unique things. Look how, for example, on Ethereum, it utilizes a unique language like Solidity. They have an actual language that they worked together with in regards to a few different foundations to develop, and that is Clarity. And this is going to be the language that will be utilized to develop smart contracts and actually build unique use cases for Bitcoin on the Stacks network. So again, I really recommend, if you guys want to, you can look into it. I understand that for those of you who aren't programmers, it might not be as essential, but there's some great speeches and content around the Stacks platform here that talk about Clarity, and some great Medium or blog articles. So I recommend you guys go ahead and read through some of those. Another thing as well is earning Bitcoin. So one of the key things here with the Stacks platform is it services as kind of a platform where people can actually stake Stacks here in this case to play a role in the consensus mechanism and be able to earn Bitcoin as a reward for providing basically transaction confirmations on the Stacks platform. So you can kind of think of Stacks in a sense, I wouldn't go as far to say it's a massive layer 2 in this case, but it is basically a layer on top of the Bitcoin network. It's not on the actual core protocol. It's basically on a secondary layer here where they're reaching consensus on confirmation of transactions, and again, being able to process these really interesting use cases and smart contracts and being able to have consensus on that. That's very, very critical, especially when you're dealing with smart contracts that might have, in this case, a large amount of Bitcoin locked up in this case, dealing with, who owns what, right? Keeping that ledger is very, very critical as you get more and more substantial amounts of Bitcoin on the network and as Bitcoin grows. But in this case, STX holders will be able to actually earn Bitcoin for providing this consensus and for playing a role. And this is really cool. It's a way you can consistently earn Bitcoin in the long run while also boosting the value of the Bitcoin network, which to me is really fascinating. And outside of this as well, proof of transfer is the consensus mechanism here that they're utilizing in order to confirm transactions. And again, to basically put it simple, from my understanding overall, from what I've looked at in the Stacks platform as we've visited it here on the channel a couple times, my general thesis from what I've seen from the white paper here is that it's built off of the proof of burn model, and overall, it's basically giving stakeholders this ability to stake STX here, so you have an economic incentive to be honest and trustworthy, and along with that as well, getting that ability to generate income from a traditional blockchain that you're servicing in this case. So in this case, again, Synthetics is serving as kind of the scalable, programmable layer for Bitcoin. And if it can actually really garner this title, if it can actually do things right, I think this is going to be really exciting. Now, it would be one thing if you just said, oh, I want to go out and build DeFi for Bitcoin, right? That alone would just, kind of catch my attention, and I'd be, maybe give the time of day to learn about, okay, what are you doing in order to do that? Well, the thing about Stacks is that this is not just an idea. The Stacks 2.0 launch here, I want to emphasize, is already set here for January 14th. The code was already submitted on December 15th, back a couple weeks ago before the end of the new year, and it's out there for the public to review through GitHub. You can go ahead and see what the Stacks platform is, the code that has been completed for this update, and now it's just, again, doing some basic testing, planning to basically come out with a strong launch going into 2021. And I think that this is really fascinating. Again, it's a migration of this original ecosystem that's been developing within the crypto ecosystem for some time. Blockstack is not a new name. They really came around towards kind of the tail end of the last bull market. And as we all know, that's been a couple of years here that allowed this project and many others to prove themselves and to really come out and stand out against all the other competition, all the other noise in the crypto space. And the great thing is here is that Stacks 2.0 is looking really exciting. I'm very, very genuinely excited to see how Blockstack as a team is going to be able to come out on this. Now, one critical thing to keep in mind here is that if you want to learn a little bit more about what Stacks is doing in this case, how the Blockstack ecosystem is improving here and now starting to migrate and service DeFi for Bitcoin, I highly recommend you check out the details for their upcoming event. They're going to be doing an event coming up here towards the launch date, where they've got people like Anthony Pompliano, Kevin Rose here from True Ventures, along with that as well, Munab Ali, who's one of the co-founders of the project. And I think one of the really kind of like solid, grounded founders in this space. I followed Blockstack for some time. It's not even like my absolute top protocol, to be honest. As you all know, I'm always going to be candid. I have a lot of different things that I keep my eye on. I'm mainly focused on the Ethereum ecosystem for the most part. But I think that leadership, like Munab's in this case, is going to be really good at possibly giving Blockstack a chance to kind of put Bitcoin to the frontier of DeFi outside of just being a store of value. I think that that's really exciting. They've got a whole other list here of different speakers that I definitely think you'll want to tune in for as well as a schedule. And all of this can be found at stacks2.com. So stacks2.com. You can go ahead and register there. So again, I highly recommend you guys look into it. We'll leave a link down below in the description to learn more about it. But I'm really genuinely interested to see if someone can build this protocol. If it's going to be Stacks here, they're going to accomplish something big, because there's so much locked up liquidity in Bitcoin. And, with RSK and all these different projects who have tried to do something similar to this, I think, over the last few years, or something partially similar, I've been really feeding for a project that's grounded and has done things by the books to actually go out and deliver on this vision of smart contracts for Bitcoin. And I think that Stacks has got a potential chance to do it. So we'll see. Anyways, 2021 is going to be an interesting year. I wish all the best to the team in their endeavors. If you guys want to learn more, we'll have links down below in the description. And if you like this video, please drop a like and consider subscribing. It's always appreciated, guys. And until the next video, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.